What's good, my YouTube family? 8 Notes here again. Let's talk about presets. So there was this one time I received a DM from a client, a potential client on Instagram. He sent me a message. He said, "Yo, 8 Notes, I want you to mix a record for me, but I need to know, do you use templates or do you use presets to mix?" And I said, "No, I don't." He said, "Oh, that's great because I'm not looking for an engineer that's just going to slap my project on some template and export it for me because that's what most people do." And I understand where he's coming from. I get his point, but at the same time, I think he's got presets and templates mixed up. Like he's misunderstanding these things. And I decided to make a video to just speak about these things from a mix engineer's perspective. And this video will be useful to you if you're a mix engineer, if you're a producer, or you're an artist, you're watching this. So when we talk about presets have got their pros, they've got their cons. They can make or break your mixing career. I'll break it down for you. So as a new mix engineer, you're just starting to learn how to mix. You're watching videos on YouTube, you're seeing all of these tutorials and stuff. And you see, for example, someone trying to teach you how to mix vocals. So they've got their own vocal chain built up, and you've seen all the plugins they put in there and the things that they did. They're explaining everything to you step by step. Now, boom, you get your own DAW. You get stems from a friend, maybe from a producer, and you're trying to learn how to mix on these project files using your DAW and possibly stock plugins, right? So let's say you load up an EQ, and at this point, you don't fully understand what frequency means. You don't fully understand what type of curves you have in equalizers. You probably don't understand, cuts and boosts and cues and all of these things. The EQ to you looks very strange and complicated, but you can find presets within that stock plugin that say lead vocals, backing vocals, or telephone effects, stuff like that. And when you play around with these presets as a beginner, as a new engineer, that's when you start to figure out why certain actions are taken in certain ways and why these curves look like this. Oh, what does it sound like if I do this to these? Do you get what I'm saying? So presets are there for beginners to learn with. And I'm not going to lie, most of these plugins, both stock plugins, paid plugins, free plugins, they come with really wonderful presets. They're presets that you just slap in and they just work. I remember when I started mixing using Cubase SX, and everything had presets on it. The equalizers, the compressors, and I would just load. There was a website I would learn from, Sound on Sound, SOS. So when I go on Sound on Sound and I see people talk about their vocal chain and stuff, say I had an EQ on there followed by a compressor, a de-esser, I would come and slap all these plugins into my vocal chain. I had no idea what to do with it, but I'll just go to, let's say, the equalizer and pick a preset, the compressor, pick a preset, etc., etc. That was how I came up. But then again, you move on to the next stage, you move on to the next phase of being, let's say you're intermediate to pro. You learn quickly that presets don't always work. So what works for one project is very likely to not work for the next project because all these songs are different. All these frequencies are arranged in different ways and across different songs. So you will definitely need to tweak the parameters on all of your software plugins or even hardware equipment that you use to mix. When you come to this understanding, you realize that you really can't live life off of presets because every project is different and you need to make changes. Then there's another stage to it where pro engineers, including myself, we've got templates for mixing. We've got something that we do all the time. For example, I already know when I load up my project here, when I drag in my track outs to an empty project trying to mix, I tend to drag my bass to the top, followed by the kick before the drum elements, and then the tonal elements, and then the vocals come last. That has become like a template for me. That has become like a preset for me. That way I just know this is where I'm going if I'm looking for the bass instruments. This is where I'm going if I'm looking for the vocals. And when it comes to plugins, using presets or using templates, I have templates that I use all pro engineers have templates that they use. So they've got a bunch of their favorite tools saved up. And for every vocal that I want to work on, if it's lead vocals, I know templates that I'm going to load. And it's got my favorite EQs. Let's say 2 EQs that I love, 2 compressors that I love, 1 de-esser or 2 de-essers. There's my favorite saturation on there. There's what else? Maybe a tool to catch the breath, iZotope RX. There's stuff to hold down the noise. There's a noise gate in there. There's all of these things. But that doesn't mean that I'll use everything all the time. When I load up this template, I just put everything in bypass and I start from the top to see what is needed. What needs to be done, what doesn't need to be done will be taken off. And what needs to be done will be done. And sometimes you realize there's tools that you need that was not even in your template and you have to introduce that. That's all possible and that's appropriate. So when it comes to preset, you really need to understand what these are and be able to use them to your advantage and not let it ruin your work, because presets are never a one-size-fit-all thing that you say, oh, if I give you this preset, your vocals will always sound clean. Half the time when you see it on social media or the internet, people trying to sell you presets and sell you chains, it's just to make money off of you, because I could give you my vocal chain and your vocal will never sound like mine. The reasons, so many factors to it. Maybe there's a certain level that the vocals hit this chain for these elements or these compressors or all these tools to react a certain way. If my vocals come in at -6 dBs and activate the compressor to get 4 decibels of gain reduction, and then you bring in vocals that's at -3 dB. Now, my intended 6 dB on one compressor now becomes maybe 9 to you, and that's a different result. Now you sound squashed. Now you're thinking my preset doesn't work. And if you bring something that's a lot quieter than mine, the compressor is not even triggered in the first place because it's not even hitting the threshold already. So presets don't always work. They're good for you to build on. It's good for you to have a workflow that you maintain, and you can always fall back to it anytime and get jobs done, because when you're pro level, you're mixing 3 to 4 songs a day or even more depending on how the songs are structured. You really can't be building everything from scratch all the time. Well, anyways, enough for talking. I just hope that you got some value from this video. I decided to address the preset and template situation. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I post stuff like this all the time, and I'll see you again on the next one. Goodbye.